Good morning, everybody. It's 10:06, so I think it's a good time to start. Let me tell you about visual regression testing, BackstopJS for the win. Just a little bit comment. I noticed that if you put "for the win" in the title of your presentation, it's more likely to get accepted. I learned that from my friend Marji, so thank you. Hello again, I'm Marji. I'm a DevOps engineer, co-founder of Morphed. And this is a picture of me which I like, but unfortunately it's about 13 years old. That's when we took it. And I will be talking about BackstopJS, but firstly let's just define what visual regression testing is. It's a method of validating that changes made to an application, that means a Drupal web site in our case, do not negatively affect the visual appearance of the application. And therefore, I will start with a real example. This was a website we worked on, and we were upgrading for a design system of one version to another one. And if we didn't use visual regression tools, we would notice these little subtle differences. Let me flip between these two screenshots, before and after. So that was one is a production version running an old design system, and this is a new one. Can you see any differences? Can you see the listen link jumping? Can you see the navigation on the right jumping 1 pixel? These little things very often get not notified. And if you don't have visual regression testing in place, you wouldn't notice. And with each deployment, it can be 1 pixel there, 1 pixel there, 1 pixel there. And like halfway, you can be like 3 pixels out of the original without realizing that. So this is what visual regression testing does for you. That's why I want to introduce you to BackstopJS. This is its GitHub page. That means it's an open source project written in JavaScript. It has MIT license. And what it does, it does screenshot comparison. So basically it takes a screenshot of the before and after of the reference side, which you consider correct, and the testing side, which you are testing or developing. And the question is, does that look right? Can you see a difference? This is a slider which shows you both before and after, and you can actually see, and you'll see it in my demo. So that's what BackstopJS is in a nutshell. And let's go for our first test ride. Get BackstopJS running. So the official documentation says, and it's Node.js project, do a global installation like that, npm install BackstopJS. Well, okay. The problem is I'm a sysadmin, and I started playing with using BackstopJS about 8 years ago, and that time I didn't have Node on my laptop, right? But I had Docker on my laptop, and our developers had Docker on their laptop as well. So I remember actually documenting this in our company. We can say, guys, this is how you can run BackstopJS without installing it. To me, this concept is normal, and I think most of us now it is. But just to remember, these days when we use Docker without thinking about it, a Docker image, you can think of Docker image as an application binary. And when you start a Docker container from the Docker image, it's running the binary. You don't need to install anything. You just pull down the Docker image and start a container out of it, and you have the application running. So you can do this. Of course, I was trying to make it a little bit easier for us to run it. So you can define an alias and put it in your .profile file as a developer. So by typing Docker, BackstopJS, backstop, it actually executes the Docker container for you. So this is a nice way how to do it. So let's do our first test. So I will drop into a command line and create a random directory. It is Thursday. And I said that we can define the backstop in .profile. If I might start working again. Come. Okay, it's missing one. Nearly there. So these are my aliases. And now when I run backstop, you can see I'm getting Backstop executed without actually doing anything. Of course, I have the Docker image already pulled, but if you didn't, it would pull it for you, and suddenly you have Backstop running. So we can do Backstop init. That was the first command. It gives you a config file, so it created BackstopJSON where you can define tests. So let's do, I'm going to just look a little README here, and I will do something silly. Let's test a wiki page in our first test. So here you can see that you define viewports. That's a definition of the test, right? But all I want to do, I want to test this. So this is what I'm testing, and let's test the cat page. And reference will be dog. As I said, I'm silly, but we will see what it does. And just a selector, I'm saying that I want to see just the content. And we can execute. So backstop reference, it's the reference URL, either cat or dog, I don't remember. It will give it just 10 seconds, and now execute a test comparing the tested page with the reference page. Oh, we have an error. There is something. Let's have a look. Why? So this is the Backstop report page, and we had two viewpoints, mobile and tablet. So here I can see, and comparing the tested page with the reference page, you can see the diffs and you can see the scrubber. And then just look at the tablet version. This is very nice when you can see, say, 277 languages as opposed to 272 languages. You will be able to find things like that. Of course, it's silly to compare cat and dog like that, but I'm just showing you what the tool does. And it is very easy to see things. So good, we can close that. Let's go back to the presentation. So I executed the test using a Docker container without installing anything, but we can go one step further and put it in, put it in our project. So we work on GovCMS projects often, like I think many of us here do. And in the SaaS version, you cannot really do testing on the pipeline, but nothing is stopping you from putting your test tooling inside your development stack. So Lagoon, and therefore GovCMS, comes with the way of defining your own Ahoy tests. So let's do that. We go to my Lagoon side, and we have Ahoy commands as we use, and I can go into custom directory, and there is this Ahoy command, and I can say that Ahoy backstop will execute the container here. That's what I was showing you a minute ago. Here I'm defining it inside my GovCMS project. So that means that I can do Ahoy it shows me the defined commands, backstop, and I'm running backstop as part of my GovCMS project. And just look quickly, I have here test, backstop definition here. They have two tests to compare. Let's say I'm comparing the production side with my local version, and that's, as a developer, I can use visual regression tools before and fix stuff before I commit. So let's say the test is the local side. And there's a difference. So, and I can open it, see what happened. So here I was comparing two different ones, and I can see straight away that there is a difference here. Once again, the scrubber. So that's a beauty. I hope you can see it, but basically, we just integrated BackstopJS in our project, which doesn't really have support for adding tests like that because the GovCMS SaaS is kind of locked. But I can test as a developer by running ahoy my backstop, and I can define, I can test a feature website with production website from my laptop. That's how I'm overcoming the problem of not being able to define that in the CI pipeline. Of course, if you run DDEV, you can define your DDEV backstop command or Lando backstop command. We use that like that. So that was the first thing. How do I install it? Or install it, how can I put it into my project stack? Okay, time-wise we are good. Now I just want to quickly tell you about two different BackstopJS workflow. So we were using the reference and test. When we are defining the reference test, the reference URL is that what we consider valid, for example, production. And the tested one is maybe my local or maybe my feature environment. And I can run it again, the reference, yeah. And then there is the other workflow when you actually define only one URL. You can see here that the reference URL is empty. And then you execute a test and approve it, and it becomes the reference. And then let's say you have production and you keep snapshotting production. And every time you test it, it should look like it was yesterday. You know, I test it every day. Just I want to see that somebody deployed something naughty or made a content change I'm not aware of. And then one day that breaks, and there was a change. And I look what the change was, and I either don't like it, so I need to fix it, or I do like it, and then I approve it, and it becomes the reference for the next time. I will quickly show you a little demo. It's a nice, valid way of doing stuff. So this is in, apologies, close this one. We go into this workflow. So here we have a definition once again. We are looking at one test page here. So when I run backstop test, there is no error. Like, let's say this is a production website. I'll open it. Sorry, I need to log in. So this is, I'm a sysadmin. So I do care about security. So guess what my password is? Password 123. Yes, 123. Oh, sorry. Oh, I just exposed it. I'm sorry. 123. Very good. So let's say, so once again, we were testing this website. We are hitting this URL. Is there any change? No, there is no change. And I do this every hour, maybe from a CI. And now somebody goes and edits something, maybe a naughty developer without approval, goes and edit the menu. My mouse trackpad is playing up a little bit on me. And maybe, you know, there's a page edit. So somebody went to production, edited the page. Nobody noticed, but there is a backstop running again the same test. Oh, somebody got caught, and we can see now that the differences are in the menu and in content, right? So that's exactly straight away, I can see what the problem is here. Change again, and the menu is changing here. So this is beautiful. And then it's like, oh, okay, that was John who changed the menu order. We talked about it. That's actually expected. So I go and I do approve. So from now, that means I'm saying that this state is the reference state. That's what I like. And then the consecutive tests are, once again, looking, is there any difference from what I consider right? So that was the, I close these so we are not confusing us as we keep going. And back to the slides. So this is what we just covered, the reference state, what we consider right, and keep testing the same thing. Nice. So that was the workflow I was going to talk to, and now configuring test right. Let's look at the scenarios definition and their properties. So we had these BackstopJS. So this is what I say when scenarios are here. You basically define this is one page, one URL. You know, so and there is this URL you are testing, and there might or might not be the reference URL. That was the difference I just covered. Like I either approving stuff or I'm comparing two URLs. And there are various selectors, which I want to bring to your attention. Before I do so, sorry, I was too fast. So this is BackstopJSON file. So this is one way how you define tests. You create a JSON, and for each page, you need to have a scenario. So if I want to test another page, I will have to add this one. And there will be page 2, content test page, another one. And I'm adding one scenario after another one. The advantage is that each of them can have different parameters, but that's one way of doing it. Then the other one is using BackstopJS instead of JSON. Because it's a Node.js application, you can use that, and there is a built-in support for that. It just needs to output the same structure as the static JSON, but it saves you a lot of time. I think I have it, for example, here. Just a quick one, how easy it is. Backstop config JSON. Yeah, I have it here. So here, you see, this is what we use for one project when I have the tested side and the reference side as this array, and then I just like put path after path. So instead of defining scenarios, I'm just saying the paths, and there is the scenario defined, and it produces the same thing. So this is very nice and elegant way how to quickly get something tested. Just say, give me the 20 URLs I want me to test, and I will just stack the path here, and I can quickly define this is the what I consider what I'm testing. Say GovCMS feature environment against production, and I get test running. We use this very often. And lastly, there is this Drupal backstop generator module, which I knew it was there, but I kind of forgot about it. But it got recently released as version 2, and it does support Drupal 11. I will show you quickly how it looks like. Not that I have used it recently, I just discovered it is in version 2 and supports latest Drupal while working on this presentation. The scenario properties, we were here. Apologies for flipping like that. So these, when I say scenario properties, that's here when you define various things. So the important ones, mismatched threshold. You basically say, what is the percentage of differences in pixels you consider normal. Sometimes the font might be slightly different than maybe 1 pixel now and then. It's not always like 100%. So we are saying this is what I consider okay to pass. Hide selector. Very often you have a website which has dynamic content. It's personalized to you, and it keeps changing order. So you can use hide selectors, and it just applies the visibility hidden attribute, but still keeps the space, or you can remove the selector. So that allows you to test only the part which is static. When I was comparing cat and dog, I said I want just the content. That means I cut out the menu and all the stuff around and was focusing on that one. Then there's this delay. This is like kind of cheap, quick and dirty way how to get your test stable. Otherwise, this is 0.5 second. Otherwise, it just might take the snapshot before the page is fully rendered. And if you want to put 2 seconds just to get it run for the first time, and then you can play with it in a more sophisticated way. The ready event is a nice way. If you have your application designed to be tested, you can actually have, say, a JavaScript which loads last, and only if everything is already rendered, then it injects a string inside the console. Say, I'm ready to be tested, everything is rendered. and then that's when backstop waits for that string and only then creates the snapshot. Another thing, you can wait for a selector up here. So if you have one, say your page is rendering and the JavaScript injects something, you wait for the selector to be there, and or you can have a script which basically runs before. For example, you can set up a cookie. So that was that. Okay, 20 minutes, good time. And the last, I have a sophisticated, that's right. Well, maybe not that sophisticated, but I like the name. So firstly, I was talking about the backstop generator. I will just quickly show you what it looks like. Once again, not that I have been using it, but it's good to know that it exists. So the module, you just install the module as a normal module, and it's here in development, backstop generator. And you can, it detects automatically detects what viewports your application is using. You can define the test and reference here. You can create your own profile and have multiple profiles, and basically say what viewports you want to test and what content types, and it generates the BackstopJS for you from here. So this is, once again, I haven't explored it. Just if you starting with this might be very good for you to look at. It makes it easy for the developer to define various stuff. It's here. So that's the backstop generator module, which is Drupal 11 compatible, got released May this year. Then I want to take, how do we use BackstopJS on CI pipeline? As I said, I started with that 7 years ago, and it has paid off. I do have that for one client, they wanted that. I do have a task running from a CI, hitting the production every hour and creating snapshot. And that's the thing, I'm expecting this, and when it changes, I Slack somebody, and then you go to Slack and say, hey, there is a difference. You click on a link and it shows you exactly the report we saw. And I look at it, is it expected? Yes, I approve it, fine, because there was a deployment, content change. Or maybe there is something which is not supposed to happen, and I can straight away jump on that. So that's a valid way which costs you zero, or just to set up one test and have watching production, very important side. Then our developers sometimes want to get an extra reassurance that deployment will be successful. So we have a little CI task when you can go and say, I want to compare stage and production of this website. So let's say we just deploy to stage, are about to test, we are about to deploy to production. So that's where I want to visually compare the test website with the production site to see how prod will look like after I deploy from stage to prod. Once again, it's really nice. Very often you might actually save that snapshot, so you have a proof for client that this is what we are doing, this is what we did. So that's what I said, yeah. And of course, you can trigger it by deployment. Depends what kind of deployment hooks you are using. This is not that difficult to implement. This is, let's see, live demo. Let's see whether this goes well. So BackstopJS does support logging in, well, indirectly, but you basically need the session cookie. So let's do that. So am I here? Yes, I'm here in this website. I am here, so I'm logged in. So let's go to the developer tools and the storage, and there should be the well-known SS cookie. So I want to copy its content, and then I will define the cookie. So here, before doing so, I will just run backstop test. And it's just hitting a URL on this website. I will show you what it's hitting. BackstopJS, this is just hitting here, a local website. And now I will actually, apologies one more time. So this is the cookie definition. So let's just create that. JSON, and we need to edit it. So it wasn't there, that was just ready, so a file ready for me to put in the cookie value, which is here from the storage. I have to say, since I started project managing, my Wimfu deteriorated badly. I can do that. And this will be called value. Okay, is it a valid? Looks like. So, and then we run test. It's using the cookie here we defined. And there is an error, and why? Because the reference side looks like this, and the just tested side, I'm logged in. So it's very easy, once again, very easy. That was that one. Back to my slides. What else? Host mapping, last thing important as a DevOps engineer. For me, this is understandable, but you need to realize that if you have, like, say, Amazing Lagoon project, GovCMS project running locally on a stack, it has some kind of local Docker networking, and if you inject a backstop Docker container, as I did via the custom ahoy command, it's on a different network. So I'm not sure about Mac, but Linux, when you are hitting Docker Amazing.io, it resolves to localhost 127.0.0.1. But from the point of the backstop container, that's its localhost. It's not your laptop localhost. So you actually need to define host, saying the project you want to reach from the inside the backstop container actually needs to resolve to the host gateway. This is a special keyword Docker comes with, which makes it hit the proxy running on your computer. Just remember that you need to do this little trick in case you were playing with Docker and could not understand how come you cannot reach the application. That's and lastly, that's also there is a support for SOX proxy, even HTTP proxy. If you are testing infrastructure which is hidden behind VPN or whitelisted IP address, you can say this is how you reach it. Easy to define. And just want to say, sometimes when you are comparing prot, I was talking about comparing prot with MyDev, you might get blocked these days, of course, because there is CDN blocking. They don't like robots hitting your website like that. For example, in GovCMS SaaS environment, I create a feature environment as a copy of prot, and that one doesn't have the same CDN support, so that I use that copy to as the reference, and I don't annoy the production side, and I get beyond that limitation. That's all I wanted to tell you today. 28 minutes, so I'm good. Thank you.
Do you have slides?
I can share them. Yeah, I will share them.
So regarding authentication, does it support HTTP auth?
The authentication?
Yeah, instead of using a cookie, support HTTP.
You will be able to use that on before, I guess. That's when you put your code, but I did not see that. But that on before script which runs before, it's possible. I also saw people using the on before when you actually do fill in your username and password and click, submit. So I assume that's very would go to potentially. Potentially also when I was showing you that you can define the SOX proxy, that's when I expect, because basic authentication, an extra header, basically you would be able to inject a header from that as well.
rendering engine does it use? Like, is it rendering it in Firefox or Chrome, or can you define that?
Yeah, there are two JS libraries supported, Puppeteer and Playwright. These are like JavaScript libraries which are drivers for browsers. I think Puppeteer, which I use, it has support for Chrome, Chromium, and Firefox, and the Playwright has, I think, even more, and more for mobile agents. So you can select these two, but Chrome is the default, or Chromium in beyond headless. And once again, just want to summarize that I really like that I call this the poor man way of testing. Like, this came from the need to test GovCMS SaaS projects, which we cannot put our test in the pipeline yet. But by being able to define that locally, we suddenly have that across all our projects, and that's cost nothing the developer to test something, because they just fill in 5 URLs and execute these 3 commands, and it works. No. You can. It is not restricted to developer's machine. I'm here focused on development machine for that restriction I was talking about at GovCMS. But of course, you can put the module. I step back. The module I discussed, the backstop generator, I don't know it. I just realized that it's there. There might be supports, and there might be modules which on event does stuff. This is not my expertise. I'm a DevOps engineer. Sorry. One more? You can have a beer.
Developer.
You set it up once, and is it similar per project? So like when you have this you set it up once, and you can use it across many GovCMS projects. And then what to test is, in my opinion, up to the site owner, but you can use sitemap as the starting point, especially if it's properly used with weights, like what's the most important one, I take the most frequent. So I would go to sitemap if there are weights, like saying this is, or you can go to open, what is it called, Kibana, Open Search Console, and run all the URL over the last 2 weeks and basically sort them by frequency and realize what are the most frequently visited URLs and use that one. You know, that's another way how to find out what's important.
Second, maybe not. So is that, do you have tips for that? Is that transferring to the next? When the project.
I think we are running out of time, but I just want to say, the moment you define it, it's important to make it easy for the developer to run. Like we have been for a while, like when we are starting 10 years ago, it's like we would love to implement tests, but can you pay $5,000 you client more so we can implement these tests, and say, no, make it cheap. And we never got the budget to do it. So eventually you do it in-house. And the moment you have it, you just put it in the project for free without even thinking it, because that's helping the customer, helping to you as well. And if it's there, then for the developer, there is no barrier to add another page, because, it's not defined here, and they forget about it. But if there is one page, the home page and the login page, it's easy for them to put the third, fourth, fifth one, and they don't think about it. So my answer to you is just make 1 or 2 pages, support them, start with little, and then you realize that the people who do care, they will extend it without being asked. They found it, and that's my way of doing it. Thank you very much.